it's good to hear from you guys. So I'll be bringing up our speaker now. And please help me with your big reactions, your awesome reactions, your big comments to bring on the platform. Messi, Ojetunde, over to you now.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and happy Children's Day.
I forgot.
So, please can you enable me share my screen?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Bye, Auntie. Mwah.
Oh, okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. And I'm excited to be here this morning. So we'll be talking about the USA universities fall application process, and I believe most of us are looking forward to applying this fall, like for admission.
Yes.
Next year for. Please, can you mute your mic? Please, okay. So when we're talking about grad school, and one thing I tell people about grad school is if you're thinking, to get into grad school, you have to think research. You have to think about research. So you have to think about your motivation for grad school. You don't just want to like, oh, other people are leaving the country, other people are going for it. I also can do that. I just want to leave the country. It's not all about leaving the country, but it's about, your motivation, your passion, where your interest lies. So that is very important. And when you're thinking grad school, there are questions you just want to ask yourself. Are you interested?
Please, can you mute yourself? Let me try to look at the question.
So there are questions you want to ask yourself if you're thinking about, grad school. Are you interested in taking your academics further? It's not all about jackpot. No, everybody wants to leave the country. I know, right? But you also want to think about the long-term goals. You want to think about the long-term effect. So if academics is your passion, if you can actually go for masters, you can go for your PhD, and then you can now be thinking about getting funding for your studies abroad. So number one, you want to ask about, you want to talk about your motivation for grad school. You want to ask yourself, what is my motivation? What is my passion? You also want to ask yourself, okay, what are my research interests? Okay, since I'm thinking grad school, like I said earlier, if you're thinking about grad school, you want to think research. You want to think about the things you want to do in research, to help solve probably global health problems. You want to contribute to knowledge. You want to contribute to solving global health issues. So those are the things you want to look at. So what are your research interests? What are your career plans and goals? You need to have a plan. You need to have a goal. It's not because everybody is leaving the country, you want to go. You want to have a plan for yourself. There's something driving you. So if you're here, I believe if you're listening to me, you're thinking about grad school. You're not thinking about something else. You want to go for a master's or you want to go for a PhD outside Nigeria. And that is why you're here. So, and also because you're thinking about grad school, because you want to study abroad, you need sponsorship, except where you have the money. If you do have the money, well, maybe you can sponsor yourself, but most times people don't have the money. It's a lot of money to study abroad. So you need scholarship, right? So, and then you want to ask yourself, okay, so why do I need sponsorship? Because these are some of the questions you want to answer while writing your SOP, your statement of purpose, your personal statement, and so many other essays. So, and now that you've been able to answer some of all these questions, you also want to ask, okay, so what are the schools I'm looking forward to apply to? You want to, think about, you want to have a list of schools that you want to apply to, and then you also want to ask yourself, so what are the requirements, or the eligibility criteria for the application? So once you've looked at the schools you're looking forward to apply to, and then you now want to, okay, so what are the requirements? What do they want me to, what documents do they need for my application? Just to make sure that your application is, competitive out there and also good, for you to get the offer. So now we want to look at some of the documents you will be needing, for your application process. I believe everyone wants to go for grad school. Since you're here, you want to go for a master's, like I said, your PhD. So there are some documents you will need, during your application. Like I said, you want to answer some questions first. Do you get? And then you now want to prepare, the documents needed for your application. So number one document you will need is your statement of purpose. At times they just ask you, okay, upload your statement of purpose, upload your, these people don't know you from anywhere. They don't know you, they've not seen you before. But whatever documents you are giving to them, they will be able to like judge, okay, this person has the passion for this person is this person is that. They know a lot about you, just by reading your SOP or maybe checking through your CV. So you want to submit a strong statement of purpose or personal statement. Some schools say just give us a personal, maybe a 1-page personal statement, or 2 pages, or 500 words, or 1,000 words. Just make sure that you look at the eligibility criteria and the requirements of these universities before you start preparing your document. So your statement of purpose is one very important document you need for your application process. And you want to make sure that you write that very well. And you also adhere to instructions. If the school is requesting that you submit a 1-page statement of purpose, you don't want to go beyond, you don't want to go beyond that. You want to stick to that instruction. That is very important. So another thing you need is an academic CV. So you need to know the difference between an academic CV and just a CV used maybe for job applications and all that. So in an academic CV, you don't want to include, gender. Okay, I'm a female. I was born so date and year, month. You don't want to include all that. You also do not want to include your house address. Nobody cares about that. So the most important thing you want to add in your academic CV, your name, probably your CGPA, your address, your email address, LinkedIn, URL. You want to include your research interests, your most like things that are relevant to your application, whatever experiences you've had in the past. If you're a microbiologist, if you're a microbiologist student, and maybe you've worked in the bank and you're looking forward to apply to grad school, you don't want to include the work you've done in the bank in your academic CV. What that you need on your academic CV must be relevant to your application. So you don't want to include, oh, I worked in a bakery, I worked as a bank manager or something in your academic. All that you must have in an academic CV should be relevant to your application. That is very important. Then recommendation letters, you want to build a strong relationship, quality relationship. Yeah, I talk about this a lot. Building quality relationship with your lecturers, with people you've worked with, maybe during your internship or anywhere, relevant to whatever thing you want to do later in life. So you want somebody who can write exhaustively about you. And you don't want someone that, you start begging, please, can you help me with this? And maybe they are not able to, and eventually they miss the deadline and all that. So you want someone who is willing and able to write. So So for recommendation letters, you might not need to have those letters collected from your referees. So most times the universities will tell you, okay, so so most times the university will tell you, submit the name of your referees, submit their email address, and maybe some other information. So, and usually they send an email to that person, notifying the person that, okay, this person wants you to write a recommendation letter. And, they just send a direct email to your referees, and then the referee respond, and then they get your recommendation. So another thing, if you're thinking about traveling out of the country, I tell people that you should have an international passport. If you are thinking about it, maybe you're not seeing it yet. At times you have to act by faith. So even though you're not like, oh, I don't think I am seeing anything close to that, or it's like nothing is actually working towards that direction, but you have the mind, to leave the country. You have the mind to study outside the country. One important thing and one step, of faith that you want to take is to have an international passport. So if you have an international passport, you are able to apply to, so many scholarship opportunities and, funding opportunities. So other supporting essays too, some schools will tell you, okay, write a 1-page or a 500 words research statement. Some will tell you, okay, write about your career plans somewhere. So these are the essays you want to. These are some of the documents you want to include, during your application. But all these also depend on what the school is requesting for. So that is why it's important, to look at the schools you want to apply to, check for the eligibility criteria or the requirements for admission, and make sure that you adhere to that. So test scores too. Some of them will tell you, okay, we need your GRE score. Some will even tell you GRE score, around 300. Some will say 280 is okay. So you need to pay attention to details. You need to pay attention to some of those information. A transcript is very important. I remember someone reaching out to me, saying that this school is requesting for an official transcript. Will I be sending an official transcript to every school I apply to? No, you don't need to. Most times, for me, I don't even apply to schools that request for, an official transcript, because where is the money? So you want to have a student copy of your transcripts. So that is, you go to your university, you apply for your transcript, have it with you. And then during your application, you can upload. So most times you have the PDF, you can scan it, your student transcript, and, save it as a PDF file and use that for your applications. So you don't want to, number one, you don't want to look out for schools that will say, okay, you must submit an official, because you're not even sure if they are going to give you the admission. So what is the point? Wasting money. Well, maybe it's not a waste, but an investment. Well, but there are other schools that you can apply to that will not request, an official transcript. Yeah. So, so let's look at the application process. So you have to create a list of schools. Like I said, you start your application. Once you've gotten to the school website, there's an apply button that you can click on, and then you start your application. You fill out all information correctly. You don't want to tell lies in your application. If you finished with a 4.0 on a scale of 5.0, you want to put that there. You don't want to put something less or something more, because all this information will still be verified. So your integrity matters a lot during your application or whatever thing you want to do in life. So you want to fill out all information correctly and upload every important document or documents you think will help your application to be competitive. You want to upload that there. You also want to pay application fees. Some schools, you will have to submit your application before paying your application, while some will say, oh, you have to pay your application fees before you submit your application. And at times, most times, students look out for application fee waiver. I have someone who got she was like, I am not going to pay any application fee. I think I did that also during my time. I'm not going to pay application. She submitted to some very good school, prestigious schools, Penn State and some other schools, and she got fee waiver. So in this US application thing, you have to be intentional. You have to be hardworking. Nobody would do it for you. You have to work. You have to work. You have to do the work. Let me put it that way. You have to put in the work. You have to be ready to pay the price. Very important. So you can get fee waiver for, or if it's 10 schools you're looking for to apply to, you can get application fee waiver for all those schools. It is very, it is just possible. Yes. So, and then you submit your application, then you wait for the admission decision. So most times the school will also invite you for an interview. So you also want to prepare well because it is part of the admission process. So you want to prepare well for your interview. So now schools, let's talk about school selection, and I think this is where most people miss out. This is where most people, find it, hard and all that, because yes, it's good to dream big. It's good to like, oh, I want to go to Harvard. I want to go to, Princeton. I want to go to MIT. I want to go to Yale. But then we have to be realistic, with our goals. We have to be realistic. Let me put it that way. So there are categories of US schools based on your chance of being admitted. You want to check yourself. Okay, so this is the document I have. These are the experiences I have. This is my CV. This is what it looks like. My GRE score, not so good. My TOEFL score, not so good. Okay, so what are the schools that I can apply to that I'm sure that they will, give the admission? So we have rich schools, we have target schools, we have safety schools. Rich schools are mostly, competitive. They are highly competitive, and these schools are classified based on the acceptance rate. So some of the rich schools, at times they'll say, 10 to 30% chance of, being admitted. Target schools, 35 to 75% chance of admission. Safety schools, all these schools are not like maybe schools with low rank. Even some safety schools have a higher rank than even target schools. So you don't want to like, this is a safe school. No, it's going to be, the ranking is so small. Well, if you are still thinking about ranking right now, well, I don't know what to say, but there are some things people look out for. For me, I want to make sure that they are doing very good in research. So if it's an R1 university, I'm okay with it. Most times you don't want to place priority on maybe just the school ranking alone. Some of the schools might even have a low, ranking. And, when it comes to the course, specifically, they are doing very well. So those are the things you want to look at. You don't want to say, this is the top, one of the, 10 top schools in the world. I am reaching out for the stars. I want to, I'm dreaming big. I want to just go for the dream and all that. Yeah, it is good. But then you want to work really hard, and there is no time too. You're also considering time. You also want to work very hard. That's why people say apply to as many schools as possible, and make sure you make your list, based on what, your documents are or what you have done in the past, something like that. So you want to, so if you have a list of schools, let's say, okay, maybe 2 schools will be rich. You're looking out for rich schools, maybe 2 of them, maybe target schools, maybe like 4 or 5, safety schools, maybe like, 4 thereabout. So you just want to like, select, those schools. And you also want to be wise when doing that. So consider the acceptance rate of the schools when making a list. Some people select based on the school's research activities. Like me, I want to make sure that they have funding for research and they are doing very good in research. So they call them, these universities are called R1 universities. So you also want to, maybe put that into, consideration when making a list of your schools. So things to consider for school selection: you want to have a strong academic record. Let's say, for example, you want to apply to Yale, or you want to apply to Stanford. You must have been working very hard. right from the start. Like you must have been doing so well. You want to have a good academic record. You want to have a competitive test scores. Even some of these target schools and safety schools, we also request for a competitive test scores and all that, strong research. And let me tell you something, they will not tell you, but most times they also look at your research experiences. They won't say it. That is why I advise people go for internships, garner as much experience that you want to, have on a paper, and make sure that, you're doing so well when it comes to your field. So you don't want to be, pursuing grad school and say, okay, I'm a microbiology student. Yeah, I want to pursue grad school. And then you're like working in the bank. I know, everyone needs money. You're trying to survive. The situation out there is not so palatable. Yes, but you just want to make sure that you pay the price, to get, to your goal. So strong research experience, strong recommendation letters. At times, some of the schools will say you must have a supervisor. So, if the school require that you need a supervisor, you want to start sending cold emails to some of these faculty, members. Yeah. So if you're thinking of applying to Harvard, you need to look at your record. You need to look at your document first. Check yourself. Yes, I know we are brilliant, we're intelligent, we have ideas out, in our head and all that. But then you need to check, these documents I have, will they be able to be, to stand, amidst other applications and all that. So you want to like humble yourself and just go for schools that you're sure that will, admit you. Yeah. So ensure to read the admission requirements, very important. And then for questions, check the admission, frequently asked questions. They usually have that on their portal or on their website. So you want to also like pay attention to some of those information before sending an email to them. Most times I tell people, if your questions are not answered, you can send an email to the grad school coordinator, and they are always, willing to respond, to your email. So these are examples of the rich schools. Yes, some of them here. This, I don't have it all here. So you can always, search out, information online and get a lot of info. So examples of rich schools, examples of target schools, you want to look at some of these schools, make your list, according to some of these categories. And these are also some examples of safety schools that you want to look out for. So now let's go to the application season. For the United States, we have fall application and spring application. Most times I tell people to look out for fall application because that is when these professors are funding for their research. Some of them are writing grants, towards, the fall resumption. So they usually have a lot of money during that time. So, and it starts in August or December and ends between December to February. So a lot of schools will say, oh, December 1st, that is our deadline, or December 15th. Some will say January of the following year. So you want to pay attention to some of those information. Then spring application, if you're looking forward to, because spring admission, like we resume for the spring semester in January. So it's actually okay that the application deadline is in December. So you want to start your spring application in July and make sure that you submit your application early. You don't want to submit it close to the, deadline dates. Some of these schools, admit students based on, it's like a rolling admission thing. So once your application is coming in, they are reviewing it and they are getting back, to the applicant. Do you get? So you want to submit your application early. And always remember that you can look up any information online. Google is your friend. Ask questions online. You can also use some AI tools like ChatGPT. You can just, so what are the safety schools in the United States? And then you now go for that to Google, check their websites, do a lot of research and all that. So you must, like I said, you must be willing to pay the price. You must be very hardworking. It's very important. So yeah, examples, I know some people have reached out to me, oh, how to apply to some of these schools, blah, blah, blah. So you need to like go to the website, type on Google, like I did here. I just typed on Google graduate school, in Boston University, and then I saw an icon that I can click on that will take me to the website, and then you can see apply now, or you can also see some other information, on that website. So it's very important that you explore the website, check the website very well before you start asking questions, because most of the information you need is available online. So like this is UConn. Let's say, for example, I want to apply to University of Connecticut. I just type graduate school, University of Connecticut, and it will give you a lot of, a lot of things will pop up. So you want to filter based on what you're looking for. So this is it, apply to Connecticut, and you can see admission requirements. It is always on their website. Admission requirements, admission, frequently. You click on it, and then you see the information you are looking for, and then you can see apply now on the website. So it's not like there's a separate port. Yes, you have to have a portal, but everything you need is on the website. Contact information, if you're not clear with anything, you can always send an email to the grad school. Everything is usually on the website. So, and then you can see payment of application fee, $75. So you can also like request for fee waiver, like I said, if you're very passionate about grads, or you want to attend that school, or you've made up your mind, like myself or my friend, that she was like, no, I am not going to pay for application fee. And it worked for her. She got admission into those universities. They were even begging, one was even begging her to like, oh, we'll increase your stipend, blah, blah, blah. But she got fee waiver for all those schools, and she got in, So like I said, if you're going to grad school, you have to think research, think about what you want to do, think about your passion, think about, research questions you want to answer. Even though you're not so clear on the kind of research you want to do, but you still want to have an idea of the area you want to go into. If it's cancer research, if it's, for me, I never thought about doing any research in cancer. Like I never thought about it, but I had an idea. I had something I'm driving towards, like, okay, I want to be able to contribute to solving global health problems. I want to do this in infectious, disease. I want to do that. I want to do this. I have an idea in my head that this is what I want to do. I know I started grad school and I was like, oh, this research is interesting, cancer research. And then I moved to cancer research. So, but the most important thing is that you need an idea for your application. You need to put something on the paper that will, inspire the people that will be like, oh, this person is actually passionate, and she has all the resources, she has the passion. The most important thing for grad school is your motivation. They really want to know if you are motivated, because grad school is a long time. Like you'll be here for 4 years, for 5 years if you're coming for a PhD, and you need to be doing research. Experiments will fail, a lot of things will happen. But what keeps driving you, what keeps pushing you is your passion, is your motivation, to be able to stay through to the very end. So, and yeah, so let's talk about SOP, since it's an important document that you need for your application. So like I said earlier, in your SOP, you want to talk about your motivation for grad school, your motivation for that research. Some will say, okay, like I was listening to a dissertation defense, and the person was like, she decided to go for breast cancer research because her sister was diagnosed of breast cancer, and then it was just an horrible moment. And then she just, she was like, no, I am going to get a cure for this. I am going to find out what is going on. I'm just going to do that to contribute to solving this problem. Yeah, that was a passion, that was a motivation. I don't know about you, it could be someone that is very close to you, maybe who died of this and that, and you're like, no, this should not be. I want to do this, I want to do that. Or it could just be that, oh, the world, a lot of people in the world are dying of, you've looked at the mobility rate or you've looked at the mortality rate, and you're like, no, this is not good. I think I should be able to contribute to solving this problem. So that could be your motivation, or your motivation could be anything, but make sure that it is relevant to grad school. So you want to also talk about your skills or your achievements. Yes, I have done this, I have done that. Be proud of yourself, be proud to put it on paper. You're not, it's not about being humble right now. You're competing with other people who are also as, as qualified as you are. Do you get? So you don't know those people you're competing with, and you don't even know what part of the world they are coming from. So you also want to like put yourself out there to make sure that you stand that competitive advantage, like you are there. So you want to have a chronological arrangement of your information. Yes, it could be that, oh, my undergrad, I did this, I did that. Then maybe I went for a master's, or in between my undergrad, I went for an internship. I am currently working at so place. Or you want to start with, oh, I am currently working here. I went for an internship. Then my undergrad was, done here, and my research, blah, blah, blah. So you want to make sure that you arrange your information. So you also want to talk about why you are applying to the university. You want to talk about your career plans, your goals. You don't just want to say, oh, I think grad school is the best for me. I think the university will help me, blah, blah, in doing this and that. You also want to talk about, okay, so after grad school, after PhD, what next? You want to answer some of those questions. If it's to go into academia, you want to do a postdoc or become a professor, or maybe go into the industry, whatever, you want to put that on paper. So like I said, these people don't know you, but they can know you. They have an idea of who you are, or when you put in some of this information. So some universities also include the information they need in your SOP or personal statement. So you need to watch out for that. So, so there are some schools that will tell you, okay, in your personal statement, you need to tell us about your research experience, tell us about your research interest, tell us this and that, blah, blah. So you need to pay attention to some of this information, and make sure that you answer, you give them the information they need. So in your personal statement. So the guideline, paragraph 1, you want to talk about your motivation. As I tell people, you have to learn the art of storytelling. You don't want to say, oh, I am so person. I finished from we know about that. So you want to start with something catchy, like something inspiring. And be like, oh, wow, this is interesting. Let me read further. You don't want to start with something boring. Like, there are a lot of applications, Some schools will receive like up to 5,000 applications, and you want them to read it, right? So you don't want to start with something that is so boring and be like, oh, we know about this. Can you just tell us something else? So you want to, talk about your motive. You want to talk about what has inspired you. You want to start with that. So, and that is why you need to learn the art of storytelling. So because you can tell a very good story, and you're starting with a very good, you're starting with something catchy, that kinds of help the reader to continue reading. Yeah. So talk about your motivation for grad school, your interest. It could be that, okay, I am interested in cancer research, or I'm interested in tuberculosis research. You want to talk about your motivation for that. Oh, the mortality rate for blah 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 is this and that. Or it could be that during my disease that somebody, I had someone who was diagnosed of this, that, and since then, it could be anything. Just talk about something very interesting. So paragraph 2, you want to talk about your undergraduate studies. You want to talk about the relevant courses you've taken, your achievements, like I said, chronological arrangements of your achievement is very important. You want to arrange your information and make it interesting to the reader. So you want to talk about your research experience, either if it's your undergraduate project or if you've done a master's. You want to talk about your thesis. your research, very important. Like I said, think research. So whatever research you've been involved in, you want to put that there. They won't tell you, but that is what they look out for. So that's why I encourage people go for internships, garner the skills. If you have publication, had it. If you don't have, it doesn't matter. But it's kind of publication will kind of boost your application, make you competitive out there. But if you don't have it, that's fine. As long as you're doing something for yourself, it's good. So paragraph 3, a continuation of paragraph 2. Some persons have a lot of story to tell. They've done a lot in their life. So you want to go further to a third paragraph, and discuss more. So I tell people at times you want to also include your volunteering volunteering positions you've taken and leadership positions you've taken. And most times when you're writing this, you don't just want to say, oh, I was the so leader of this particular place and blah blah blah. You don't just want to give a raw, you don't just want to give a straight information. You want to give something detailed. Even though it's detailed, you still want it to be brief, concise. Yeah. So I tell people, use the STAR approach. You want to talk about the situation. Okay, so since you became the leader, so what was the situation? Or why did you think of volunteering, or why did you think of taking that leadership position? Then what is the task? What were the things you observed, or what were the things you want to change? So for example, I give this example a lot. Okay, you discover that some students are failing in a particular course, and that is the situation, right? So, and the task is, okay, so what should I do? You need to think about it, and then action. Okay, I think I should organize tutorials for this particular set of students. So that is the action you've taken, right? And then what was the result? You discover that, oh, a lot of them, or maybe 90% of them, pass that particular course. So that is the way you want to arrange this this point. So you want to think about the STAR approach. Paragraph 4, you also want to talk about why you're applying to that university. So what do you think about the school? What have you found interesting about the school? Which program are you interested in? And, what is your research interest? You also want to talk about that in that paragraph. If you've identified professor, it's very important that you mention professors that you think your research interest aligns with theirs. So you with yours. So you want to include that in that same paragraph. You want to talk about your career plans and how your studies in that university will help fulfill your career aspirations. So these are some of the things they look out for, that, oh, this person is choosing our university because she has made a lot of research. And this, like, to tell them that is also like you are showing to them that you are doing good at research. You're garnering the information and all that. So you also want to talk about the values you intend to add to the university or the department. So you also want to talk about, so like I said, think research publications, think presentation at conferences. You want to say that you will add value by increasing the number of publications in that research, or the department or whatever. So you want to put all that in your SOP, and you want to conclude. Avoid contractions. I know some of us are used to typing in short form. You want to tell somebody okay, and you just put K, or you want to tell somebody please, and you put PLS. So you don't want to be used to that, so that you won't be doing that when you're writing very important essays and all that. So you avoid cliches. Your SOP should not, like I said, this is also dependent on the university. If the university is requesting for 500 words, 1,000 words, 1,500, you want to stick to that. You don't want to be too wordy, and most importantly, you have to be positive. So take home, discover your career path. Don't give up on your dreams. Rejections are part of the process. Yes, you might. I know of someone who got 9 rejections, and I said, hey, you can stick. Yeah, keep pushing. Since that is your dream, that is your passion, just keep doing it. Don't be lackadaisical about your application. Stop lazing around. Ask, if you're to ask somebody question, ask them specific question, not like, how am I going to go about my application? Because there are a lot of information out there, right? So you can always look up for information online. Follow the process, trust the process, be hardworking, network. This time around, you shouldn't be proud. If you're a proud person, you won't get anywhere. So you ask questions from people, be persistent, build quality relationships. There are people who have gone ahead of you, in that path. So you need to ask them, how did you do it? Or ask them specific questions most times, because grad school students don't really have the time. Some of them don't even respond to messages, as soon as you want. So you need to be specific. If you are coming into someone's DM, you need to so this is what I'm doing and this is the question I want. Don't come and ask that, oh, so what are the steps to take? There are a lot of webinars, out there. Attend webinars, do things for yourself. So you don't want to start asking irrelevant questions. So then, like I tell people, you cannot succeed alone. You need to work with people, with like-minded people. If your friends are people that are not seeing your vision, that they are not in the same direction, that you are going. I'm not saying you should leave your friends out, you should, neglect them. No, I'm not saying that. But make sure that you are in a circle that will encourage you to do something for yourself. So you cannot succeed alone. And I actually wish you the very best, as you proceed. Thank you. If you have questions, just let me know. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so a lot of questions have been popped up in the comment section, and a number of people are raising their hands. Now I'm seeing comments. First, I'm seeing comment from Goodness saying thank you. I'm seeing comment from Comfort Abbey saying this is so helpful. Thank you so much, Mara. And there were other comments before from Lawrence. Okay, says thank you, the moderator, for this wonderful presentation. It's clear and audible. Awesome. Okay, and I'm seeing comment from Adenike Zainab saying this is so helpful. Thank you, Ma. From Onalo Sefumi, thank you so much. From Pascal, thank you for the wonderful presentation. And no name, it's actually a techno company saying thank you so much, Ma. I have been so enlightened about this. And Loretta says, thank you. Pascal says, you finish work. Awesome. Oh, more. Okeke Tuchuku says, thank you so much, Ma. And Onalo says, time management, 100%. And Khadija says, thank you so much. It was really insightful. Okay, let me try to pick some questions in the comment box.